The 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. This is your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
Spencer, I've hit the wall. Every summer, this happens eventually. I'm just going along. I'm kind of enjoying the off season. I'm kind of enjoying not having the full rabid fan devotion to sports for a while. I'm reading books. I'm going for walks. But just this past week, I need some football. It's hit me again. I can't escape it. I'm not a football gamer, but I'm having severe FOMO, even though I'm terrible at football games. I've discussed this quite a bit, so I won't go into that more. But man, I'm ready. It's 46 days away, and it can't get here fast enough.
95% sure I'm going to buy the new college football 25 game.
You got to tell me about it. I've already got my buddy, the Ace Man, over in. He's south of the Metroplex, not quite in the Metroplex, but he was up late last night, and he said I felt like he showed some restraint. I was proud of him because he got the deluxe version, so he had access to it Monday night, and he said he basically just got on, just kind of shook the rust off, played a few games against the computer, and then it was getting late. And he was about to dabble into the. I don't even know what the mode's called, Dynasty or whatever it is. And he was about to dabble into that. And he's like, nope. Because if I start that, I'm going to be up probably most of the night. So way to show some real restraint on night one. Proud of you, big guy. That's tough. You know, when a new DLC comes out on Farming Simulator, I don't show that same restraint. I'm up past 2:00 in the morning baling hay with this really cool new baler or whatever.
Yeah. If I mean, obviously I don't have it yet, so I didn't pre-order with the deluxe or anything. Get the early access. I have felt the FOMO of everybody else playing it. I was like, I rolled my eyes like it's 2024 and like the graphics still look like 2014, 2015. It's like you've had 12 years to work on this. But then I was like, let's fire it up, man. Let's go. Let's do this.
Did you see? I mean, I don't want to skip ahead on what we're going to talk about or anything, but I threw down here in our notes. There was a tweet that Adam actually sent me of a comparison, what you just said, of the Jones. It looks at both the south end zone, basically from the 50-yard line. It's pretty much the same view. So you're looking at the south end zone and the north end zone in the 2014 version of the game versus the 2024 version of the game. And brother, it made me want to go buy some tickets. Of all the things I've seen the real photos. You posted one from the official 23 personnel account, which if you're not following, go ahead and follow at 23 personnel on the Twitter. What's up, Grayson? And so I have I've got that in the back of my head. You know, even all the actual photos I've seen of the construction, something about seeing how big of a difference that stadium has gone through, and even the surrounding area has gone through. Because I don't think the parking garage was there in 14. At least it's not in the game. And I didn't go back through Street View or something to check, but that's probably about right. I bet it was built sometime after that.
Yeah.
So there's something that just made me, that cemented it even more. That was when I had to look up how many days until August 31st.
So I'm looking at the tweet, at the photos. The south end zone one is like just like it's hard to like even fathom like that's what it looked like a year and a half ago. You know, like
yeah,
it's not even that long ago that's what it looked like.
Yeah, you're right.
And you're like wow, like we had a cool stadium, and like what it's going to be is like we were just delusional, man. Like
Oh,
that's
you mean
pretty.
the north end zone
No,
is the
south. The
well, they
one you
both
can.
look different now.
Well, I know, but like the south one, like so in NCAA football 14. Granted, it still has the bubble in the background, which that has
Yeah,
been
I
gone for a
gotcha.
while.
Okay, I
Uh, and,
gotcha.
w- and we've had the indoor practice facility back there, but like the weird little uh beige and tinted glass office building in the southwest corner, and um it just the stadium looks so much more complete on both
Mm-hmm.
sides. Like they like they had the updated the added seating sections added to the north end zone in the last game. They didn't have the new scoreboard. They didn't have the columns that go around the north end zone. And you're talking also about the parking garage to get the more of the whole field. What they don't have here is that new tunnel in the northeast corner.
Oh,
Um,
they don't, do they? Yeah, they don't.
um, but still, anyways, I'm yeah. Again, I don't know like how deep I would go. I still haven't decided if I want Xbox or PlayStation. I would probably lean towards Xbox. That it would just stay updated a little bit better. Um, the problem is the Xbox is in the living room, and we just that's a shared system and TV. Whereas if it was on the PlayStation, that's here in the office, and nobody else really uses the PlayStation except if like Grayson gets kicked off and he has to go go do something else. He uses the PlayStation to watch DVDs of Dragon Ball GT. I have a series on DVD set. I don't know why he latched onto that. Like he wanted to watch that. But he's watched that series all the way through. Um, he's been playing some Fortnite in here. Like there's been a weird issue with the Switch where like they get Switch users get disconnected from the servers fairly regularly with a recent update. So he's been playing on my account. He's been using the PlayStation.
Well, do you have a 4 or a 5?
I have a 4.
Okay. So I knew your
And
Xbox was whatever, the Xbox One, I think.
it's whatever the one I bought from you.
Yeah, I think that was because the one that came after that is the series. So I think you have a 1S. And then they started making the Series X and the Series S next. I think that's the latest one. The thing I'll give PlayStation the most credit for is you know what generation you've got. It's just number them. I don't know why Microsoft made that so difficult. It's kind of like a trim level on a
On a,
on a pickup or something. Now you don't know. Well, is Laramie above Bighorn or is I don't know. Bighorn sounds good. Well, they've got a tungsten one coming out. Well, what's that? Is that is that above or below platinum?
yeah, and then what with Chevy, it's like X, XS,
Yeah,
XLT,
LT, LTZ, RS.
LT, LTS,
Yep,
and like XLT. Like, sorry,
that's Ford.
even that was yeah. I was mixing with Ford. Like LT is is Chevy, or no, that's
Yeah,
LS.
no,
Then LT.
LT is
Okay,
Chevy. Yeah,
but XLT is Ford.
yes.
But also, like
Then
Ford hasn't done,
SLT is GMC and SLE is GMC, and I don't know if those are both still used or not. I haven't looked
yeah.
at
And then Ford
AT4. That's their other thing.
Ford's got platinum, which I guess kind of helps, but because there's only one, it's not like it's silver, gold, platinum, whatever.
Yeah,
Yet,
they only have one precious metal available.
and then like the drives, whether or not it's a 4-wheel drive or not, little extra sticker
Yes,
by the rear tailgate bumper.
it says off road, but who knows? Who knows what that means?
Yeah, there's FX4, and then what's the
Yeah.
other one that's not their 4-wheel drive,
Well,
but they suck. It's
FX2. I think
FX2's like,
FX2 is. Yeah. What are
why
we
would
doing?
you? Why are you going to claim that? Anyways,
ZR2. That's a Chevy one.
okay, really quickly, Samantha's older brother, he had a SRT4 back when he was in high school.
Oh
Which,
yeah.
if you're not familiar with the sporty versions of the Dodge, this is like 2000s. It was
It's like
basically SRT,
souped up Dodge Neon
and the
kind of
number was
thing.
like basically like the number of doors.
I thought it was the number of cylinders
Maybe it was that.
because there was a SRT8 version of
Yeah. Okay.
something,
Okay.
I
And
think.
10. Okay. Yeah. So basically, he and Samantha always like, oh, it was an SRT4. I was like, yeah, that's a Dodge Neon. It's nothing special.
It's got a cool spoiler though.
Don't flex on anybody with an SRT4. But yeah. Okay. Oh, also, trimmer is a Ford thing now. Lightning used to be a thing.
It's
Raptor, T-Rex.
Raptor's Ford. I think trimmer. Hang on.
Trimmer's Ford.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, trimmer and Raptor. What are you doing, Ford?
If we give it enough different levels, like differentiation, like, do you want the DVD navigation system? Well, that's a platinum
That's
level vehicle.
yeah, that's only on the
Do you want just navigation? Then that's trimmer. But you also get the off-road package. The skid plate makes it larger tires and skid plate now gets you into the Raptor. So it's like you could have a trimmer, but you might as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're changing one thing. It's like a completely rebranded truck. It's ridiculous. I don't get it, except to make everybody feel like they have a special edition model. I don't know.
Maybe so. And then if
This
everyone
is
has a special edition, no one
nobody.
has a special edition.
Like the I have a 1 of 500 Corvette. I was like, aren't all Corvettes kind of numbered in small classes? Like, I don't. Anywho's,
Everything's limited when you think about it.
yeah.
Every single vehicle is limited. You have a limited edition.
The Dodge Durango sitting out front says limited,
Limited.
on the back on the
It's
on
so
the
accurate.
hatch. So there you go. It's limited.
Yep.
It's 4-wheel drive. It's got a nearly 6-liter V8 Hemi Magnum in it.
Yeah, it does.
It just sits there, But I mean, it still runs. Anybody looking to buy a Dodge Durango? I know one. We're off the rails, Michael.
We are, man. It didn't take long. I'm sorry. I think it's my fault.
We
It
were
usually
talking
is.
about college football 25 and the differences in the Jones and all that kind of stuff. Excited for football season. Excited to be in the building when that the games kick off. You get to experience the Jones and its renewed stature. We have 6 weeks, almost exactly 6.5 weeks. Fall camp starts in 3 weeks. We've got previews, not previews, but like welcome parties to get to. We're throwing one tonight for Arizona. Next week will be Colorado. Following that will be Utah and then Arizona State. Tonight, along with the Arizona welcome party, we're going to be talking about the Big 12 Media Days, recap some of Joey McGuire's comments. Apparently, the Big 12 is close to inviting a couple of big name ACC schools. Could be grabbing Florida State and Clemson and maybe a couple others to go along with them. Both of my boys have now come into the room. Good night. Hey, say hi to everybody. Hi. Are you even on camera?
Hi.
Can they see you? Come here.
What's up, buddy?
This is Hayden, everybody. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay. Good night.
That was the infamous hater tot.
This is Hayden. Okay.
So we've heard quite a bit about.
The terrorist feral 3-year-old. Good night. Keep going. Alrighty.
I told you mine might come in, and two of yours have already. So
Limited edition showings of the children.
Yeah.
The baby is down. She can't. She's in her crib. She's not coming in. Samantha may walk through now. But,
yeah,
um, where were we?
well, I think we were just going to.
I was previewing the episode.
Well, you're talking about some possible ACC rumors going
Yeah.
around, and then, then I think we were going to just roll into
Let's
media days,
start with
perhaps.
media days.
Yeah.
Cracking a cold one. This is a HEB knockoff of Fanta Orange, Orange
Oh.
Burst, 0 sugar. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I bet it is. I forgot how much I like orange drinks. I really liked Fresca too.
This is kind of a Fresca-esque. You
Mm.
say that. It's got a Fresca feel to it with little. It's not as orangey as like Sunkissed or.
Well, and I say in the same breath, I said I like orange drinks, and then I mentioned a grapefruit one. I'm aware that Fresca's
Citrus.
yeah. But and speaking of, I just had myself a
Spindrift.
Spindrift sparkling lime.
Man,
Delicious.
we are. This is off-season podcasting at its finest, people. Big 12 media days. We'll get there. We'll start with McGuire's comments. Some points from his press conference and just the interviews that I've listened to and commentary following up. I think everybody is super excited to know what to expect from Micah Hudson. I know that he sat out this spring. I don't remember if he practiced at all in the spring, but I know that he was injured, minor injury at the end of the season in some kind of like off season all-star type game. And then had surgery this spring, so didn't even get to participate 100%. Coaching staff is still super high on him and his pedigree coming in as a highest rated recruit in Texas Tech history, at least in the recruiting era, modern recruiting era. McGuire said basically you can expect him starting in week 1. He's a generational talent, but also super mature for his age. I think we saw that through the recruiting process. I was hesitant to buy in with all of the way he was interacting with fan bases on Twitter. I was like, I can't tell if he's just engagement baiting or if he was just trolling everybody. He was trolling everybody, which I'm here for. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that he's signed and is on campus. Had he not gone to Texas Tech and gone with somebody else, I'd be like, what a tease. What a jerk. So immature. Anyways, I've also heard like he's going to be kind of used just about everywhere. He played outside, more of a build of an inside guy, but I mean, he will be a true freshman. Does have the benefit of being super talented and super athletic, and having been here in the spring. So he's not coming in now in terms of like off season in the summer, adjusting to food nutrition changes, scheduling changes, being on your own schedule, so much more so as a college student than a high school student. You get all that kind of transition out of the way before it really has to matter and you have to buckle down for football. So he also talked about he wants to have the team start stronger, not just in games, but in the season. We've seen a couple of years where they've had tough non-conference opponents, but a slow start to the season. And he backed it up by saying, Texas Tech has been 8-2 in November and December games. We like to start stronger to go along with that. I was like, I didn't realize it was that good. But
Man,
thinking
I
back,
didn't.
it has been.
I knew it was in his first year, because that was something I think we all pointed out. That's typically where Texas Tech would kind of fall off, is towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But we noticed that in his first year, that was not the case, and it held true in his second one. I kind of didn't really put two and two together there.
Yeah. He was asked about the impact of Cam Brown in the quarterback room. Remember, he's the transfer from the small Georgia school. Is it Georgia Southern?
Hmm.
I don't remember exactly,
I'll
but
look it up.
um, he was named second string behind Morton at the end of spring. Um, McGuire said, a recent weigh-in, he was 6'2", 237. I was like, that's a big boy. And again, he's been here for 7 months now, so it's not like he's coming in out of shape.
West Georgia.
West Georgia said he will be a load to handle defensively, or for the defenses going up. Mentioned that he brings a lot of attitude to the quarterback room, which I like to hear. Did mention that
Yes.
Will Hammond had a great spring, but that Cam Brown is the number 2 guy. And he also said like he's looking forward to seeing how he's involved in the quarterback run game nearly every week.
Okay.
I was like,
Take
all
some
right.
pressure off of Baron Morton. This is basically, who is that big running back for the Giants? Was it Brandon Jacobs?
Yeah.
Kind of a build similar to that. And you mentioned he was listed or mentioned at 237, I guess, during camp. He's only listed at 230 on the roster, so that number may be short. So who knows? He might be in the 240s before the season starts. And I'm not being sarcastic. I mean, I would imagine that's probably true. He's probably putting on a little bit more weight even.
Yeah, and for comparison, just because I think we're familiar with him, Donovan Smith is a few inches taller. He's 6'5", but his last active weight was 240.
Oh,
And
wow.
we all appreciated like that size and his. I wouldn't say bulk. That's not an appropriate way to define him, but his stature. Um,
Yeah, Brandon Jacobs, he's got about, yeah, he was 6'4", 264. So
he's a big dude.
he was a hoss. Even
Um,
bigger than I thought he was.
yeah. Caleb Rogers got in on the media scrum and asked Coach McGuire a question. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
So it was in his opening press conference. They just go around the room or around the arena, wherever they were. And they opened up for media from different outlets to ask questions. Caleb Rogers stands up. I don't know if he just like snuck in and they just didn't recognize him or what. But one, I thought it was cool, decked out in a Adidas team polo, which looked very sharp. He didn't introduce himself, so like McGuire, like it took a second, and then like he recognized him, and then he's like, "Oh, by the way, everybody, that's Caleb Rogers. He's my starting right tackle. Sorry, starting right
Guard.
guard."
Yeah.
So he kind of like, oh, he's a player because he didn't introduce himself, and there's just like McGuire was kind of chuckling while he was asking the question, and he like lobbed up a softball beach ball question like. Everybody talks about your energy and your enthusiasm. Like, how do you get that? Um, like, how do you get that impress on your players, basically? But the biggest thing what was that he came out and said, or he confirmed that Rogers was going to be moving inside. He said that's my starting right guard. We talked about that. Made me think, and I went back to our lads, and this is something that I haven't really paid a lot of attention to, but it's a website that kind of tracks and projects depth charts. Um, I looked at the projected depth chart. I don't remember reading one from Don Williams, but they said this was based on a lot off of what he said after spring. Looked at the projected offensive line depth chart. It has Sterling Porcher at left tackle. So this is the Memphis transfer. Vinny Scurry at left guard, and that's the Toledo transfer. Sheridan Wilson at center. Caleb Rogers at right guard. Ty Buchanan at right tackle. So just throwing that out there. Other things from Media Days, Baron Morton said his shoulder is 100%.
Of course he did.
Um, yeah. What else? What do you expect him to say? Um, did say like he's gonna have like he has a throwing program in place. He's gonna have so many different throws each day of the week, which we know at least during the season. Like there were weeks where he wasn't throwing between games, which was wild to me.
Well, one thing I noticed
But
too, just with the new NCAA game, I don't think I noticed players throwing motion that much, but maybe buried in the back of my consciousness I do, because I saw some highlights and I was like, that is, yes, that's exactly how Baron Morton throws. There, someone, I think it was one of the LAJ guys, possibly had a touchdown pass from Morton, and I was like, yeah, that's his throwing motion. It's kind of a it was distinct. I can't even describe it, but in
yeah,
my head, it just
I got you.
like a deja vu.
I've
It,
seen that.
yes, I've seen that. This is accurate. Well done.
Um, a I don't know where it came from, but apparently like there was not like any animosity, but there was some, maybe it was playful tension, but obviously a very uh, focused effort to make sure that Taj Brooks leaves this season, leaves his Texas Tech career as the Texas Tech leading career rusher, and he needs like 1,167 yards. Morton apparently took a little exception to that. I was like, well, I'm here too. Like,
Hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
Morton, you're going to throw for a lot of yards. You're going to throw for touchdowns too.
Yeah, but so's Cam
Um,
Brown. Let's.
Cam may run for more touchdowns, but Morton really, I don't really want you running much. Um, but the other thing, it wasn't even Texas Tech related. It came out. We talked about, I think, on our one of the recordings leading up to Big 12 Media Days, about Ollie Gordon being arrested for DUI. Um, and then Mike Gundy at Media Days just went and stepped in it.
As he is
He was trying to
often to do.
giving him the benefit of the doubt, trying to defend him and give him um some grace and saying, hey, like
Mm,
we've all
mm.
made mistakes. And out of context, I would be scared to drive in Stillwater. Just put it that way. Thousands of
Especially
times, apparently. Thousands of times. Mike
just
Gundy's done this.
whenever I remember, I don't know how it got on, but I think we talked about it on here too. But his house was either listed, Gundy's house was either listed, or someone just put it on, found some photos or something. And if you've been to a Great Wolf Lodge, then you know what his house
Or
looks like.
Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah. So if you're in the vicinity of what appears to be a Great Wolf Lodge, be on the lookout for someone in a
What does he
platinum
even drive?
LTZ Bighorn. I don't know. I was trying to think it would be some big giant truck. That's my thought.
Um,
It's bright orange.
because I know, okay, we know that McGuire, his wife bought him a Corvette a few years ago. So he has a Corvette. He also has it's a red Corvette. He also has the car allowance from, is it
Alderson, maybe?
Cavender's
No, it's
now?
not Alderson anymore. Yeah, they got bought out.
Is it Cavender? Is that the
I
name?
think so. Cavender bought out Alderson,
Okay.
so that makes sense.
So he probably has some kind of luxury vehicle. I think he has a, I don't know, an SUV. He has a black SUV, which is, it does not stand out, right? The red Corvette doesn't really stand out either, with how many you see around here. Um, but yeah, I would love to know what Gundy drives. So just, I mean, not that I ever plan on being up there, but I do want to avoid. I mean, it's a small town. Like he probably sticks out like a sore thumb. Small town Oklahoma. All right. Let's talk about ACC really quick before we get to Arizona, because we're dragging here. Okay, Michael, you and I have both been a little disconnected the past week or so. We were seeing chatter about Florida State and Clemson being tied to Big 12 expansion, and for me, I'd kind of written off Big 12 expansions. Like we're kind of set. There's no one really else out there. The ACC's kind of locked in and do their own thing. As bad as it is, an agreement it is. They have something like 12 more years on their agreement. Plus, they just picked up all those schools that were running from the American and from the Pac-12. But it appears there's some smoke to the Big 12 reaching out to and potentially inviting officially Florida State and Clemson. When I saw that, I was like, well, why? Why would Florida State and Clemson want to take an invite from the Big 12? That's like I've got a better gig somewhere else. But then I heard some informed and educated discourse on it. One also mentioned that like, okay, the SEC and Big 12 have both kind of said, no, we're going to stand pat for now.
Or the Big Ten.
That's what I meant. Big 10
Yeah.
and SEC. We're gonna stand for now. That would leave the remaining powers within the ACC three options. They could stay in the ACC and fall further behind every single year as their revenue is locked in, as the Big 12 currently at least ties them and will soon pass them. The Big 10 and SEC far out earn anything of the ACC. They could try the waters of independence, but nobody stays independent except for Notre Dame. To stopgap, would they want to go independent for years, a few years, to try to get into the Big 10 and SEC? You'd probably make much more money as part of the Big 12 and have much more meaningful competitive matchups on the field, on the court, whatever, wherever. Or you could join the Big 12. You would step in and have, the blue blood status of the conference. Selfishly, like it would then catapult, like there would not be a power two at that point. Like you would have consolidated everything else into like everybody else remaining that would have some kind of claim to that into the Big 12. Enough so that like I don't think you could then leave the Big 12 out if you're talking about moving on and however if this all breaks down in the future. Because I think right now the ACC, regardless, like they still have Clemson and Florida State and Miami and North Carolina and all these other programs. But we know with their media rights situation, like they're like a lame duck. But if they were to move those into a conference that is forward thinking, that has media rights that would pay a lot more money, elevates obviously the Big 12, brings them back into the conversation of a legitimate power conference. I think a lot of people are dismissing the Big 12 right now, and I don't know if I disagree with them. If you look at Big 10 SEC versus the Big 12, it's like we're not really playing the same sports.
Yeah, I think
games. Well, the tops of the conference. I think once you get past the top tiers, I think it's very similar outside of compensation.
Yeah, I think you'll have to prove yourself as a conference probably over the next 5 years and kind of tout your non-Big 12 matchups, tout your matchups against Big 10 teams and SEC teams, and with that expanded playoff, really try to make the most of it to earn some of that back. I'm with you. I don't care. I wouldn't say, but I wouldn't honestly say that conference top to bottom. Well, top to bottom, we're as good as the quote unquote bottom 80% of both of those conferences probably. But yeah, the top of those two conferences are the best of the best when it comes to football, and Big 12 is going to have a lot to prove when it comes to that. But what a lot of people are finding out, and that's what I saw on Twitter when this was kind of floating around, uh, the Big 12 likes sports, and they pay
What?
attention, and they want to watch their teams and root for them and have rivalries and have interesting matchups and go to the games. I saw so many Clemson fans. This really surprised me and just shows you not to jump to conclusions. But I know it's a small sample size, but there were a lot of Clemson fans that were pretty jazzed about going to the Big 12. They seemed that just threw me for a loop. That a quote unquote national power was like, yeah, let's do it. let's let's go play Oklahoma State, and let's play all these teams. Let's play Kansas State. Let's play Texas Tech. That sounds like a blast. Let's go for it. And they seemed really jazzed about it, and most Big 12 fans were obviously pumped in return. I think Florida State, they seemed a little bit more somber, but Clemson, what I was able to see, they've like I said, they're discovering what other people have found is that this is the conference to go to if you enjoy parity a little bit more than some of the others, and if you enjoy just sports, just watching your teams and watching teams you grew up watching or not. I didn't grow up watching UCF, but I'm going to watch them when they're on my TV because they're part of the
Mhm.
conference.
And I think the other thing that we can all point to and be like, you don't want that to happen to you. Like we've seen the Big 12, not the Pac 12 dig its heels like, no, we got this. We'll be fine. And then it just crumbles, just falls apart. Like everybody sees it happening except for the Pac 12.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think maybe the writing's on the wall, like that agreement, while it solidified the conference at the time, and held them in check and in place and gave them some security at the time, maybe the death nail. Like this may be the death of the entire conference. Like you locked everybody in, but now it's like everybody's stuck and they don't want to be. Like they want to be able to negotiate for better rates. And your contract won't allow that, and they won't break it. They can't break it. So it's interesting. Uh, I think there would be other teams that would be added alongside Clemson and Florida State. Who those would be? I mean, I don't know. The I mean, my thoughts that I've heard and I would agree with, like you'd start probably with Miami. Um, and then the remaining football based power of that conference is probably Virginia Tech. Um, you could make an argument if you want a little bit more of a balanced athletic department. You could grab North Carolina because they would bring a lot of um, basketball and baseball, but basketball pedigree to the Big 12, make it even stronger, which would be just ridiculous to have Kansas, North Carolina, and Arizona, and Houston, and
Yeah.
Baylor, and Texas. Like these are like Texas Tech. Like I throw them in there because Texas Tech has played in a national title game recently. Baylor has won a national title. Kansas has played in and won a national title recently.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
North Carolina is like they have like that's in their blood. Like it makes more sense to me to add them than like a Virginia Tech because I would go more for the balance approach than just football because I think Virginia Tech is a stronger overall football program, but athletic department. But I'm not the person that makes the decisions. It could be North Carolina State.
Yeah,
Could be
NC State.
Duke.
I was thinking that NC State would be just a good fit.
It
Just
could be Louisville.
yeah, Louisville would be a decent fit too. You know, they've really struggled in basketball since Patino and all that, but they've had some
Since that dude exploded his leg in the tournament.
yeah, they've had some really talented football teams and some fun football to watch. Some great players go through there. And Louisville was my pick years ago when Colorado first left. You know, when the first batch of Big 12 realignment happened, Louisville and Florida State was who I was hoping Texas Tech, who I was hoping the conference could grab. But of course, it was probably more of a pipe dream to them. Louisville probably had a little bit more. Uh, oh, they could bargain a little bit more than they can now. But yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, the ACC has a lot of fun, interesting teams that would be a good ad and someone for West Virginia to play where they don't have to go across the country all the time. And same for UCF.
Mm-hmm. So, um, well, while we await that shoe to drop, let's talk about an actual newcomer to the Big 12, Michael. Let's turn our focus
Okay.
to Arizona because they are in the Big 12 currently. This is not a thing in the future. Texas and
It's not
Oklahoma, not in the Big 12. Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah are in the Big 12. That's it's happened. We're here. It happened the last time we were even recording. It didn't even feel real then. Let's talk about Arizona. Let's start with football. We're going to touch on three main sports: football, men's basketball, baseball. We'll do a deeper dive into the football, obviously, when we talk about their preview. Texas Tech and Arizona on the schedule this year, October 5th. Game 5 for the Wildcats in week 6. They have a bye week before. Let's look at last year, which it's mixed, right? Because last year they were 10-3 overall, 7-2 in the Pac-12. They won their last 7 games of the season, but then they lost their coaching staff, and we'll talk about who they replaced it with. And I'm not really impressed, but we'll see more so how the program has responded and rebounded by the time that the Texas Tech preview comes along. But last year, their schedule wise, they beat Northern Arizona. They lost in overtime to Mississippi State. They then beat UTEP and Stanford. They lost by 1 score at home to top 10 Washington. And they lost by 2 points in triple overtime at USC, top 10 USC. So they were deep into overtimes and the 2 point off, 2 point conversion off the overtime. Um, so they had back-to-back losses, but they were at home versus number 7 Washington, and then on the road at number 9 USC, and then won the last 7 games, including a 24-point beatdown of Utah and a comfortable victory over Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl.
Thank you for reminding me of both of those things. That was
Um,
that had somehow kind of left my brain space that they just absolutely demolished the Utes.
it was like 20, like 42-18 or something.
Yeah,
Like it was
there
bad.
was a lot of trash talk on the Twitters before that game, so it's all coming back to me now.
They finished the season ranked number 11. Um, Good enough that when the coaching carousel started to spin with the retirement of one Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer was hired from Washington to take his spot in Tuscaloosa. And Washington hired Jed Fish away from Arizona. And with that went a flurry of transfers. They lost 40 players off their roster. A good chunk of them ended up in Seattle. Shocker, I know. So the new staff that Arizona hired, I mentioned just a minute ago, I don't know enough about them, but my research preparing for this is like, that's the best I could do. To parlay what they just did to hire a 7-6 head coach from San Jose State, Brent Brennan. He was there from 2017 to 2023 with a record of 34-48, 7-6 in 2023, and a third place finish in the Mountain West. That got him a job at Arizona. Now he brought a lot of his staff with him. Some names you'll remember: Dino Babers, offensive coordinator. He was not on the San Jose State staff, but he's hired as the offensive coordinator now at Arizona. Dwayne Aquina, you should recognize that name. He will be the DC there in Tucson. Was on the Arizona staff last year as an analyst. The year before that, well, from 2014 to 2022, he was on the Stanford staff as a DB coach, but had been on the Texas coaching staff for about 12 years, 2001 to 2013. So he's worked himself back into a DC role now with Arizona. Brennan brought 7 coaches with him from San Jose State. We'll get deeper into the numbers when it makes sense to do so, but they were top 70 FP plus program. I think they were top 50 offense and like 95th in defense. Now, granted, these 2 coordinators were not with him at San Jose State. They did lose a ton of players. Arizona did. They lost 40 roster players, 33 to the transfer portal, 5 graduated, 3 to the draft. And then restocked the pantry, Michael, with the 51st ranked transfer class. It's not good, Bob. Not good at all.
It's like they hired a Mountain West coach or something.
That's exactly what they did. Ask us how well that played out, Michael. When you get rid of a fairly successful coach, and that's giving Kingsbury a lot of credit, but he was at least well liked, successful, reputation wise. To then hire a Mountain West coach who had question marks on his records. So I looked over at the projected 2 deep over in our lads. Great thing about them, they also will highlight players that are new in their role. So like if they're a transfer or if they're like a first year player. Their offensive depth chart shows 7 newcomers in the 2 deep, which isn't all that unheard of. Majority of them are transfers. It's not like there's a bunch of young talent that are being pushed into. They're all transfers, and we'll see how that all works out. Defensively, I think where the question marks really started to come up, they have 11 transfers or freshmen in their 2 deep. So half of their 2 deep is transfers are true freshmen, including, Michael, their entire defensive line and 3 of the 4 backups on the defensive. So 7 of the 8 players in the defensive line 2 deep did not play for Arizona last year. That's going to be something to watch.
It's a good gel. You know, it just gives Aquina a little bit more. He's just got a little bit more stuff to work with. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it's got his work cut out for him.
They've got to.
Now he's been around forever. Like he's seasoned. He's a chiseled, whatever they call it, vet. He's seen a thing or two. been around. But going back to the preseason prediction of where they had Arizona to pick, they picked 12th, picked 5th to finish in the Big 12 with 3 first place votes, even. That raises some eyebrows. As a reminder, Texas Tech was picked 9th. I think when we talked about it when that came out, Arizona and Kansas, but namely Arizona was one I was like, that seems like they're just ripe to be the underperformer because they're set up like they're gonna be 5th.
Yeah.
Spencer says as of July 16th, that's not going to be the case. Arizona will not be the 5th best team in the Big 12, and if they are, teams 4 through 16 are garbage. The entire conference has fallen apart. We're looking at a new pandemic that wipes out athletes only, and they're unable to play.
Don't speak this into existence.
I'm saying that is how Arizona will be the 5th best team in the Big 12. If teams have to have walk-on tryouts mid-season, and not just for kickers. Their schedule this year, they have an extra Big 12 team on their schedule because they have Kansas State in the non-conference. They have New Mexico, Northern Arizona, and at Kansas State for their non-conference schedule. So probably 2-1. They get a week off. They go to Utah. I don't like Utah, but I think they will handle Arizona 2-2. They come to Lubbock October 5th, 2-3. To BYU, that one could be interesting and entertaining. They host Colorado. They host West Virginia. That trip from West Virginia could be interesting, but I think West Virginia probably gets them. They fly all the way back to the East Coast to take on UCF. They're going to get trashed in Orlando. They get a week off to prepare to host Houston on a Friday night. I believe that's the Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. They return to Texas the next week to go to Fort Worth. And then they're back at home to finish with the rivalry game against Arizona State. Conservatively, Michael, that was 6-6. That's not a 5th place finish.
I don't think so either, unless we have 6 5th place ties.
So,
which could happen with a conference with 16 teams. Who knows?
It's true. We'll do a deeper dive into the football program. We'll have a lot more insight on them when it's time to do the preview in early October. Basketball and baseball a little bit more established and settled, although they have relatively new coaching staffs within the past 3 or 4 years. Basketball is led by Tommy Lloyd, who will go into his 4th season at Arizona. He was named the head coach in 2021. He was an assistant at Gonzaga the previous 22 years before that. Has gotten up to a really hot start. Obviously was well qualified to take on a head coaching job. And when you step into a program like Arizona, there's he had some built-in advantages, and he's not dropped the ball. His first 2 years, Michael, he went 61-11, which was record-setting for number of wins by a coach in their first 2 seasons. He's 88-20.
Gosh.
Overall in his first 3 seasons. So his record-setting first 2 years, he then went on to win 27 more games in year 3. They were 27-9 this past year. Only makes him second most for wins in his first 3 seasons. Lloyd is also the first power conference coach to win his conference tournament in his first 2 seasons after they won the 2022 and 2023 big Pac-12 tournament titles. He was 4-time coach of the year for 2022. 4 different associations named him that. Um, this past season, like I said, 27-9, 15-5 in Pac-12. They lost in the Sweet 16 to Clemson. Recruiting wise, I mean, they have a super talented roster, but they just signed the 25th ranked class and added in the 33rd ranked transfer class. So we talked about basketball powers. They are definitely going to be one of them. Big 12 basketball is going to be even more ridiculous. Baseball, most recently, was kind of a head scratcher. They were a national seed. They hosted their regional tournament, went 0-2, and were the first national seed to be eliminated. They lost to Grand Canyon in game 1 and then Dallas Baptist in game 2. But they are under the leadership of Chip Hale, who's his 3rd season as the head coach at Arizona, although he played for Arizona as a 4-year player back in the 80s. Was named Pac-12 Coach of the Year this year. He is the program leader in games played, hits, and total bases during his time as a player in 84 through 87. Was a coach for two full decades before he came back to Arizona as a head coach. Past season went 36-23, 20-10 in Pac-12 play. Won the Pac-12 regular season conference championship with a walk-off victory against Oregon State in the last game of the season. Talk about an exciting way to win the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Then parlayed that into a Pac-12 conference tournament win. They won that, so they were a regular season and tournament champion. Then got into the regional tournament and went 0-2. Statistically, offense wasn't like so great. They were really their strength was pitching and defense. They had, in terms of around the country, they had the 21st best ERA, 4.46, and 24th in WHIP, which those two things are going to be awfully close. But other than that, like they didn't have anything else top 50 wise. Where I think we talked about a lot in the baseball season. Texas Tech was top 25, top 5 in a lot of things offensively. You saw what it got Texas Tech, so it's not like saying Arizona wasn't a top 50 offense doesn't preclude them from being a good baseball program. It's just what they were this year. So a good baseball team the past few years. Obviously a stellar basketball program. They were a hot football program until they lost their coaching staff and a third of their roster. But welcome to the Big 12. Arizona Wildcats.
Just it's always good to have a little bit more Wildcat action. More Wildcatters.
Every man a Wildcat. Kind of
Ouch.
hits a little different now. Speaking of baseball, really quickly, I sent this to you, Michael, but well, hold on.
How'd you send it?
Twitter DM.
Okay.
Was there anything else you want to talk about Arizona wise?
No, I'm good. I'm good with whatever you've got next.
I want to talk about baseball recruiting, transfer portal specifically for Texas Tech. One, hit the old unfollow on Gavin Cash. I even got notified of a tweet today where he said gig him. I was like, why? Why? I haven't followed you in a week.
Remember this guy? You might want to hear what he has to say. No, I don't.
Anyways, Texas Tech adds a commitment from Tennessee first base transfer. Hold on. Villanueva. He did not play in any of the Tennessee postseason run, but I think it was because he was already announced his intentions to hit the portal. But also in this same article, you're getting an outfielder from Stetson, Logan Hughes, and first baseman from Cal, Peyton Schultz. So 2 first basemen in the transfer portal and an outfielder. It's the first official news I've seen, and we always talk about. At least I do. I always mention it. Baseball recruiting is difficult to follow. Um, I didn't check to see if those names were in the MLB draft this past week, but that's a possibility. You did have a couple of guys drafted from your roster, but you weren't expected to have any of them back. Bazell went first from your roster. Who else was drafted? Cade McGee. I'm blanking. I don't have it. It wasn't on my radar because of everything else going on this week. But you got three incoming guys from at least 2 Power 5 programs and a Stetson, who've had decent baseball programs of late. So add them to the list with Davis Rivers. His transfers coming to Texas Tech. Rivers remember he hit the portal and then came right back. Tested the waters of free agency. Didn't like his numbers, I guess.
Rivers tested the waters.
He did. It's very astute. Anyways, anything else for you, Michael, on baseball? I know you're a huge baseball guy.
Yeah, I've got about an hour of no, I don't have. I'm good.
Okay. Well, then I will say, let's hit what we learn and wrap this one up. We say.
All right, sounds good.
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
All right, Michael, what did you learn?
I was in beautiful Madison, Wisconsin last week. And there's a software conference I get to go to. They have it every couple of years, but because of COVID and me wanting to send some of our other engineers on the previous conference, I haven't been there since 2019. So this was really nice to get to go again and enjoy the sights and sounds of the Midwest with people who can drink you under the table and not even try to. But it's a wonderful place. I enjoyed my share of cheese curds and brats and cheap drafts. Found a dive bar near the Capitol that had $1.50 PBR and $1.50 Miller High Life on draft. Outstanding. And then I learned a couple of things. I think I've told you about one of these, but not the other. So are you familiar with what a tall boy is, Spencer?
I think so.
Okay. So here we pretty much call anything that's 16 ounces or I think even 24. I think we use the term tall boy for both. So something that's more than a regular 12-ounce can of beer is a tall boy.
Okay. I got you.
Up in Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
it's a silo.
It's called a silo.
Yeah. So we were out. I just remember this from my last trip. Yeah, let's go get some silos. And I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, silos, beers. I'm like, okay, I know what a beer is.
Okay, cool. Thanks. But
And they treated me. Yeah, it was the last trip. I think Grain Belt. Grain Belt is kind of their Lone Star, maybe.
okay.
And we went to some place that had trivia on my last trip. They had Greenbelt silos for X amount. Fantastic. The other thing I learned, are you familiar with well drinks? The term well drinks.
Like I've heard of wells, yeah.
Okay, so
I couldn't tell you what it is.
like back in the day, if you went to the beer garden / daiquiri lounge, if they had 50-cent wells, that meant that when you went up to the bar and ordered a bourbon and Coke, they were going to give you some form of bourbon, probably the cheapest that they had back there, and some form of soda. So 50-cent wells was like, oh, I want a vodka cranberry. Okay, we're going to give you Crystal Palace vodka and a dash of cranberry, great value, So that's a well drink. But
Okay.
up there, they call them rails. They're called rail drinks. So at that same bar we went to, I had to ask a guy, he had to translate for me. And it was kind of like seeing two people who don't speak the same language talk to each other. And I was like, "What's a rail drink?" He said, "Oh yeah, that's just a drink behind the bar." Like, "Oh, so it's like a well drink." And he's like, what are you talking about?" Then after a few minutes, I think we finally came to an agreement. So next time you're in Madison, seek out some silos and some rails, and have yourself a cheese curd or two.
Okay. So I've had cheese curds before, and they're fantastic. Like,
Yeah, it
how
is.
could you go wrong with cheese? Um, I had to look it up, and I was surprised but not surprised. So one, I've heard really great things about Madison, the college town. Um, Essentially the same size as Lubbock.
Yeah, my wife and I were talking about that, and I insisted because where I was at, it's really close to the capital, and so there's a lot of, for me, being from Lubbock, Texas, a lot of very tall buildings. A lot of tall buildings. Some of them are apartments, some are hotels, some are offices. I'm like, man, this is a big city. And then she's like, no, it's not. It's probably about the size of Lubbock. I don't know. Then yeah, I remember looking it up, and it's 272,000 people. Oh, you're right.
It's 10,000 more than Lubbock,
Yeah,
which is a lot of people. Let's be honest. Like if you added 10,000 people to Lubbock, you would feel
sure,
it.
sure. But it was deceiving. I was surprised to learn that because
Yeah.
where we are at the conference is kind of that area right by the Capitol. It just makes it feel so big because you're just surrounded by what I consider giant buildings. It's like
Yeah.
it's like when you go to Floydada and think, man, these are some big hills. When you driving into Seymour, like, good night. We just went through the Grand Canyon. What happened?
Yeah.
Coming out
You
of
get off the
Post.
you get off the Cap Rock like, whoa,
Woo!
I'm getting car sick here.
We need to pull over. I need some water.
You take it easy, guys. Yeah, I think I mentioned it. You know what? No, I'll save that. I'll go with my screen name. We did end up agreeing to purchase a truck, so I'm a owner, proud owner, I guess you could say. I'm enjoying having a truck again. Let's put it that way. Um, it is a Super Duty. It's an F-250. Um, it's nice.
Is it diesel or gas?
It's gas.
Good. Yeah.
Um, I expected, like, I knew the engine was big. It has to be a big engine. Did not realize like actually how close in size it was to the Durango's Hemi. So the Durango is a 5.7 liter V8. This one has a 6.2 liter V8. It was like certainly bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pulling a very, very different size vehicle, but not all that much different in terms of size. Gas sucks. Not the engine. Paying for gas. We were down to
How
one
big's the gas tank on that thing?
we were down to one car. Like we had to replace the battery and alternator in Samantha's car, and that was a weekend project that was slow going after I had that procedure last week. And we of course ran into issues because I was like, I'm going to do it myself. I'm cheap. I'm going to not pay anybody to do it. And
You got to go back and forth to AutoZone 4 times.
I didn't. But what ended up happening? So there are 3 bolts that attach the alternator to the engine block.
Mm-hmm.
Broke one of those off
Mm.
in the engine block. Still there, by the way. I was like, we're good. 2 of 3 ain't bad. It took us 8 hours to get the alternator off, including 4.5, 5 hours on one bolt. And we finally we're getting leverage. This thing's moving, and we're moving it. We got this huge breaker bar on it, ratcheting, and then and then it pops off. And it felt like, because I was the one doing it, it felt like it just came off the head of the bolt. My brother-in-law, who was underneath, is like, "Uh-oh." I was like, "Oh, did we break it?" He's like, "Yep." probably still like an inch left of this bolt sticking out. It's like, you suck. Okay. Anyways, so we're down to one car, waiting on a couple of things. This stupid Mazda has some like the plastic body panels that you had to remove. Broke a few of those snaps that connect it back to the. So we had
The worst.
I have a bag of them somewhere. Couldn't find it. I had to order a new bag. Waiting on those to come in. Weren't coming in until Sunday night. I was like, whatever. Let's get back to it on Monday. Driving around enough this past week, and then on Saturday we were down under a quarter of a tank. And then with everything going on Sunday, I was like, I'll just go ahead and fill up Saturday night. That's the adult thing to do, is not wait until you're out of gas. Fill up Saturday night. It was under a quarter of a tank, but it was one of those things where it was like probably lower than the gauge was indicating. I put 25 gallons in. It stung because that's a lot of gas. But I was like, also, gas prices have come down a little bit. So it was only like it was $80.
It's probably not drastically bigger than
I probably
the
have just a
tank in your
few-
Durango, but it's still, yeah, that's hefty.
No, the Durango easily holds 22, 23 gallons.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like official, like if this is just like common knowledge. I think most cars have a gas tank big enough to get a car to go 300 and 350 miles, whatever, on
Yeah,
the tank.
I think you're right. That seems to be kind of the minimum.
So it's like, I mean, they know the fuel economy you're going to get driving these things, and they're going to build you a gas tank that'll get you about 300 miles. So yeah, that wasn't sticker shock because like gas isn't too expensive right now. A couple years ago, like we're not driving this truck at all. We're not. This thing's gonna
Park
sit
it.
in the.
Park it.
But we filled about like 280, whatever. It's like, okay, that's not bad.
Well, you got how's that AC feeling, brother?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh man, I'm so excited for you.
And also because it's a wider vehicle than the Mazda. All three kids fit in the back seat. Their shoulders don't touch. My two boys don't fight because they're just within striking distance of each other. My oldest son, who's usually sits in the middle, just because it's just easier to get car seats in on the sides. He's actually fallen asleep back there, leaning over because there's just enough space where he can like get comfortable. The AC blows cold. It's so nice, man. And it may just be confirmation bias, but looking at all like the reviews of this Ford, like the 6.2 liter gas engine on this, like if you do maintenance, like regular maintenance, this thing should last 400,000 miles. Like I don't know about that much. But my wife was really hesitant to buy a vehicle with 185,000 miles on it. I was like, yeah, I am too. That's a lot of miles. But I was like, these things should last for forever.
Well, and you're probably not going to
And
put a
we're
ton of
never-
miles on it.
No. I mean, like the guys that were saying they were getting 350,000, 400,000 miles. Like these are like heavy use vehicles too. It's like we're not even going to do like that much heavy use. We're not going to tow anything. Probably. I don't have a trailer. I don't have a need for a trailer.
Maybe, but you got one that
Maybe I
can
do
pull one.
now.
You can pull a camper now. Get your little.
It
get your
even
little
has
camper.
the hitch and everything was
Oh,
set
yeah.
for the fifth wheel. It's like
Probably got the trailer brakes
does
system set up.
on
Yeah.
the dash.
Mm-hmm.
I had to ask my neighbor if I bought it. I was like,
What's this thing do?
what is this little plus minus thing on the dash? Like, oh, that's your trailer brake. I was
Is
like,
that
I'll
like
never
the
need that.
turbo
Okay.
button on those old CPU towers? Oh, turbo. We're moving
or
now.
does that mean race?
Ooh, overclocked the processor. We're at 133 megahertz.
So, enjoying having a truck again.
Welcome back.
It's nice.
It is.
It's in
It is.
great condition for. I mean, it's.
It's a
12 years
pain to
old.
park, but man,
It
You
is.
just live with stuff. You just live with it.
It's one of those things where like you kind of make fun of the people that swing out. It's like I get it. But
I used to have my college roommate. He always drove. I've talked about him before. He had a 4-door long bed when we were in high school, and that was the longest vehicle he had. But after that, he only drove an extended cab or a 4-door. He always had a pretty good sized truck. And I just remember riding with him, and every time he'd get into a parking spot, he would like look like he was about to hit the car next to him and then jerk the wheel at the last second just so that his rear wheel actually lands into the spot. And I was just thought, this is so ridiculous. What are you doing? And because I was just driving single cabs for forever. And then once I
It's
got
just
this truck, I was like,
big car.
oh, I get it now. My guy knew. You've got to like
So-
anchor this boat, man. You've got to plan ahead.
So it's a super crew, but it's the 6 foot bed. It's not the
Oh.
long bed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. That's the. I think some of them are
It's
like
not the
5
8 foot.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, some
no,
of them are 5 something now, so it kind of threw me off when you said
No,
6.
so it's not the 5'7", it's like the
Yeah.
6'7", but not the 8 foot bed. So I'll have to do that. I'm still getting used to like relatively normal parking lots. Like I have to hug like the right side parking spots, the right aisle to get in on the left. I understand why a lot of people back in and out of things
Yes.
like I
Or
back
pull
into
through.
I pull through. I definitely pull through wherever I can. I'm still trying
Oh,
to
me
figure out
too.
like my landmarks. I'm looking at my mirrors. Am I far enough forward?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one, I mean,
You don't want half your truck hanging out in the parking spot behind you.
I understand now. Like if my tires are across the back line, that's not far enough through. There's still another couple of feet.
Yeah.
Plus, this truck has a trailer hitch on it that sticks off another 6 inches. Like I need to be out there. The front end needs to be out there.
You're gonna be sticking out one way or the other.
It's also tall enough and the front end is big enough. Like I have no concept of where that front right passenger side headlight. It's I've driven it 2 weeks now, and it's probably a miracle I haven't taken anything out yet. I was like, I pulled into Sonic, and I don't know if I need to do it, but I have to pull in the mirror to do it.
Those
get-
250s have those massive. You've got one of those, the mirrors with like the two supports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They stick way out
you've got the
too.
big dogs.
Anyways, it's been a blast.
Yeah.
I love this thing. I have plans for other things. I'm not gonna do anything crazy with it, but like I want to get a bed cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
I love it. That's the only accessory I've really done on my truck. We had the step. Oh, I don't remember what they called. Step bars or whatever. We had those installed when I bought it, but that's really.
this one has like a pretty solid running board on it.
I like the spray in bed cover. I've always liked those, and then
So-
I've got a cover, and I just love that.
This one does not have any kind of bed liner in it. I didn't realize the difference it would make when I bought the red Dodge a few years ago. Oh, I say a few years ago. It's been 5 or 6 years ago now. It had one of those like rubberized mats that were just like it just laid
Just
in
in the
bed.
bottom. Yeah.
And this one doesn't have anything. And I haven't hauled anything, but I've turned into like the family yard service. Like my brother-in-laws keep calling me, hey, we come mow. And I don't bring my mower, but I bring everything else. And like it's just flying around in the bed. I was like, I get it now. Having a little something, a little stick to it. But I also had to like I didn't keep any ratchet straps when I sold
Yep.
the old truck, so I had to get like a new set of ratchet straps. I'm trying to decide if I want like a cargo net thing to hold stuff in the bed. Not that I would take the tailgate off, but like as a way to like section off the bed, so I don't have to like strap it in or whatever. Like if I have the back 2 feet of the bed netted off, I can put groceries back there, not have them go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now it just like I picked up groceries today on the way home from the office. I was like, you better put it in the back seat, man, because I don't have anything back there. He's like, yeah, I was gonna put it in the back seat for you. All right, good. Checking out Amazon Prime Day stuff. I didn't think I would ever like. I didn't even think about it, but they had like these LED light strips that would go underneath a bed cover to light up a bed. I was like, I could see the point of that. Do I want to mess with electrical stuff? Probably not, but I could see the point of that. Just stuff like that. I also, this is probably ridiculous. I don't know. You know what a pedal commander is,
No,
or a pedal monster? So,
no,
um,
something for your guitar.
no, they are um, basically little computer chips that plug into your electronic throttle control that take out some of the play and the slow response of the electronic throttle that that replaced the throttle by wire stuff where it's no longer actual physical cables. It's now just all electronic. Um, I was doing research. I decided a long time ago, like if I ever get a big truck, I want to get a pedal commander. And I was doing research, and my brother some of his videos like shouldn't get a pedal commander because those are bad.
They
Um,
sound kind of dangerous.
well, it just increases the response and like yes, can make it faster, but just more responsive. Um, but there's one by Pedal Monsters made by Banks, and Banks is a pretty well known truck community. They do all kinds of things. They have a version of it that hooks in through your OBD2 port, and then gets you another like OBD2 scanner port. It communicates with the onboard computer, so like it knows what gear you're in. It's a little bit more sophisticated than the pedal commander, and it's actually like $5 cheaper. And like Banks is like, why would you spend more money for a dangerous product? Because apparently like it can like shut down your entire throttle system and just it puts you in coast when the computer's like, I don't know what's going on with your throttle control because it has a little extra power. Anyways, order me one of those. It should be here
Okay.
Thursday. I'll be driving a sporty little 250.
Jeez.
But no, next up is for sure the bed cover. I got to figure out. I think unless you have supreme words of wisdom, I think I'm gonna go with a soft roll up and not the hardcover foldy one. I don't like if I have to fold it up that I lose a lot of space in the bed or have to take it off to get that space back.
Well, the one I have folds up in sections.
Right, but you still lose a section's worth of your bed though, right? At the very end when it's all folded up.
No, because you will lose visibility because mine, once you get, I think it's 4 sections. Once you have it completely folded, you lean it against your back glass and then you can prop it. So you really only lose like 8 inches or so of the bed. And that's been really nice. I don't have to use that very often. I'm usually not hauling that much stuff,
Sure.
but I can
I probably wouldn't either, but
I can fold back 2 panels, and it's got like a clip where you can just fold back 2 panels, and that's usually, if you're hauling a chair or a table or something like that, and you don't need the entire bed. You can use that, and then you don't have to worry about the panels folding back and forth on you. I've really liked mine. It's like a flip back or something. BAK is I think is the name of what I've got, but it's not the tonneau cover or whatever where it's just one big thing that goes up. It's got those sections that fold back, and it's been really handy.
why is it called a tonneau cover, by the way?
That's got it. I don't know if that was like if that's like chapstick or Kleenex. If that was just the first guy that came up with that, or what. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I think what I have is called the backflip, something like that. Backflip. Yeah, backflip MX4. Pretty sure that's what I've got. And there's places in town, not a sponsor, but there are places in town that will install those, and I got mine installed, geez, 7-8 years ago now, and it's been great this whole time. It's got some hail damage, but that's obviously not their fault. And that would be the one thing I might replace someday if I keep this truck much longer. Is It's wearing out a little bit just from the sun mostly, but it's been great. It still functions. It does exactly what I need it to.
Do you ever notice like a noise or a rattle with it?
No, I
Does it
haven't.
make any? That's one thing I've heard about people complaining with these is like they're not like sealed very well against the air. Which I don't know if you'd want it to, but like air will get under any of these and just, just
No, this
vibrate.
was I've been fortunate with this. You'll get moisture in there. I mean, it's not watertight, that's for sure, but it's way better than if you didn't have anything.
Sure.
It's kind of like you take the good with the bad, but yeah, it's not watertight, but it doesn't get a ton of water in there. I mean, if you were driving in the rain with some suitcases and stuff for a long trip, which we've done stuff like that before, the suitcases didn't get soaking wet or anything. Everything was still fine when we got
Yeah,
there.
and if you're driving it like aerodynamically, there shouldn't be a whole lot of water hitting your bed. Like,
Yeah.
well, if
The
you're
way
moving, like
I know
if
what you
you're
mean.
like highway, whatever. But if you're light
Oh, I'm all
in the
highway.
city, well, I mean, you know what I mean. Like, if you get to a stop, yes, there will be rain falling directly down. Anyways, that's what I've learned. I've enjoyed having a truck again. I need to figure out what all I need to do to get the Durango ready to sell it and dump it off my insurance. Not that I think it's adding all that much to the insurance, but I'm not keeping it for Grayson to drive. He's 9.
Yeah.
I'm not keeping a
yeah.
third vehicle for 7 more years.
Yeah.
But if anybody knows anybody looking for a little bit of a project Durango, everything works on it except for the AC.
It's about
It
to be
could-
fall. That's when you should sell it.
It could just need a recharge. I have replaced the battery and alternator on it. I have replaced the ECM. It's got a new-ish radiator and fan. Four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive works just fine.
It's a limited.
It's a limited SLT. It's got a DVD entertainment center system for the back seat.
Digital video disc.
Yeah, because that was all the rage. Leather interior, no rips. I don't have WeatherTech floor mats. You're gonna have to provide those yourself.
You got them for the new pickup. That's the other thing
They-
I usually buy, or I do buy now. Or it's WeatherTech.
Not WeatherTech branded, but there are plastic rubberized mats that my neighbor had sold or put in the truck that came with it. So
Gotcha.
I also helped him replace this in-dash stereo, so it's like an updated stereo system and new speakers. So I have Apple CarPlay in this bad boy, and a new speaker system, which has been nice. It connects. I get in, Gambling Gauchos just starts playing over the surround sounds. Like, this is nice.
Yeah, it's good.
But anybody that wants a Durango with a Hemi engine, 150,000 miles is not a ton of miles. It's got a lot. It's also 20 years old, so. But I know a guy. I can set you up.
I'll put in a good
And
word for you.
If you're okay with chasing down an AC issue, I got a car just for you, man. Right now, no, not the time to be chased down running around in a car with no AC. It is hella hot. But all right, I think hour and a half is long enough on the Big 12 welcome party for Arizona. That'll do it for us on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We will be back next week for much of the same, where we'll be welcoming the Colorado Buffaloes, Coach Prime. But until then, for Michael and Spencer, we will catch you guys next time.
Follow us on Twitter at 23personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.